Yeah. So welcome once again in today's Meshery development meeting, and we here discuss about the Meshery development plan on Wednesday. With convention, like we start with getting introduced to some newcomers on the call, getting us know better and letting them know us better. So I can see Gabriel. I think he's someone who has joined the call for the first time, right, Gabriel?
Yeah, good evening, or good day rather.
Yeah. So if you can tell us a bit about yourself, like where
All
do you
right,
come
so
from?
I was at the last meeting. I was last week, Thursday, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, I was at the last meeting.
so
Well,
this is
again, my name is Gabriel.
Gabriel. Oh, yeah,
Gabriel.
sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, Gabriel, thanks. It was good of you to jump onto the Meshery call as well. If you haven't introduced on this call, now's your chance. There are different people who show up to the 4 or 5 different calls that we have. And so it's always good to get acquainted. Would you like to say hi?
Okay, hi everybody. I'm a full stack developer. Yeah, my name is Gabriel again. Yeah. So I joined Meshery through a friend. He introduced me and asked me if I wanted to participate in an open source contribution. So I said yes. Then he sent me the link. So I filled the form. I've joined the Slack channel. I introduced myself already on the Slack channels. So I saw the meeting on the calendar that it was for today. So I joined to understand better what Meshery is about.
great. Thanks for joining. And I think Deep has also joined it for the first time, right, Deep?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can tell us a bit, like who are you, where do you come from, and your college year, whatever.
I'm a third year student. Third year student of computer science engineering. I'm a bit into open source and web development stuff. That's it.
Okay, I think there is some network issue at your side, but we got you. You are enthusiastic open source developer, and you are in the third year of your school. So yeah, great. I think we can now start with our agenda items. I see some Zoom users here, so if they can update their names, so that will be like really great. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Let me interrupt real quick because it's kind of a standing rule that we have. If for anyone who's on the call, it's super great to have everybody. Please do us a favor, the kindness, if you would, of adding your first and your last name into the Zoom participants list. So Ishan is with us, and that's great. He's been here before, but Ishan, if you'd add your last name, that would be nice.
Yeah, hi Lee. I've
There
been
it
off
is.
because of my exams, but I'm back.
Terrible. The thing is like nobody needs those exams anyway. So like you can just set them aside, just forget about them, come over here, participate. No, totally kidding. Good. We had someone on the call as Zoom user. And so if you didn't get a chance to introduce, thank you for updating your name, but anybody else that didn't get a chance to say hi? All right, Abhi, thanks for letting me interrupt. I just wanted to make sure we got everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so great. Thanks for your introduction. Let's move on. So the first item on the agenda list is progress on Meshery dashboard. So Pranav, it's your turn.
Okay, I'll share my screen. So the ask is that like whenever you log into Meshery, you see the dashboard which does a pretty good job currently of telling us the connections, which gives you a chance to check the connection status to your connected Kubernetes cluster. If you're running any adapters, you can check whether you are successfully connected to them, or you can also see whether your Prometheus and Grafana are connected properly. And if in case you are running service meshes like me, like right now I'm running Istio service mesh deployed by Meshery. So you could also see like what service meshes are running in a cluster, and you can also select them based on namespaces. So there was a recent ask like why we just show service meshes? Why don't we show all other workloads which are there in a cluster? Because of course Meshery does like keep a track of which or resources are there in a cluster, what are workloads we run, like deployment services, all that stuff. It's being stored in the database, just that we never showed them on the UI. So I was working on a dashboard. I was working on improving the dashboard where right now there's a new card which shows all the resources which are there in your cluster, current cluster, connected cluster, and it gives you the kinds of resources and the number of them in your current cluster. So this I'm currently like it's almost done. I just need to fix one thing which like I'm not able to select them based on the context selector. Apart from them, it's like done from my side. So I would be completing it in, like today and tomorrow. So this is the thing. Like now you can see all the resources in your cluster, and the number of them, and the number of each kind. So that's the thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, the table lettering, bold lettering, by yeah. Good suggestion.
Does anybody have feedback or questions for Pranav? Maybe suggestions on what might come next? Or like, why are there 167 config maps? What? You're config map crazy. Or I mean, that's not Pranav, but just that's interesting. Cool.
Yeah, we can tell you it also like this is I'm running a watch command on my pods, so you can see there are 14 pods right now, and the exact same number is over here as well. So yeah, it works. And similarly for services, I'm having 9 services, and same are on my which are returned by my Kubernetes API server. Though if you have more suggestions, please feel to throw them on Slack or on this PR, so we can put them also in consideration.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, it's nitpicking, but the resource and the number, like the number should be count, since it says the count of every resource. So count is much relevant.
Yeah, I'll update this.
And just one more thing I wanted to ask, should we add the service mesh table above the workloads, because the workloads are too long, and the new user might not know that there's a service mesh table. So
service mesh list can also go long. I mean, it's long for me, so I guess this is fine.
And yeah, according to these questions, it's multi-cluster compatible. Like it will show all the resources based on what selection we make from here. So it passes those context IDs to the subscription, and then based on that, it queries the database. So
Any other feedback from others? Do we think different visualizations might be helpful? Do we think that the table is a little long? Is there too much white space between the workloads heading and the start of the resources? Can you tell the difference between a resource and the fact that the column header looks the same? Do you like the centering and not left alignment in the first column? Do you like can you sort the columns? The last stateful set, it has an underline underneath the even though it's the last item, it's I was just trying to pick out like something super silly, just to the point of like, oh, good. Did you want feedback? Let's just hammer you with feedback. This is great. This is such an improvement. And yeah, there's a couple of things to consider. Some stuff that might be a little hard, which is, gosh, what if people want to see everything, or what if they only wanted to see select items? You can try to build in opinion in there. Ultimately, though, you want to let people get to those details. Should there be, what happens when people have 3 or 4 more resource types? Should we just go ahead and like set a maximum height to the table and make them scroll at some point, or let them kind of do that, but let them expand it? Or I know a lot of things to kind of play with. But of what you've done and the speed by which you created this in a day, which is great.
Just one feedback that, as Lee already mentioned about the namespace selector, there would be namespace scoped resources, and there would be non-namespace scoped resources. So for them, we can have inside of this card only the one. So just to have a uniform user experience. So if you scroll down to the service mesh part, you'll see that namespace selector in this one. So we can have a similar namespace selector on the workloads as well, but the resources which are not namespace themselves, like the namespace resource itself, they can lie outside of. So there would be a card inside of a card maybe, and the inside card will be like namespace. You can like the service mesh card, where you can click on multiple namespaces and the different stuff would come up, and then there would be a static non-namespace resources which would be on the parent card.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the feedbacks, everyone. Let's move on to the next item. Minimizing the number of files in the root directory of Meshery. Please. So Chris is here, right? In case he's not, we'll roll back.
Christopher is on. Christopher
Okay.
Kahul.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So I'll go ahead and share share the changes that I made. So my PR was basically on minimizing the number of files in the
root directory of Meshery.
Yes, in the root directory of Meshery. So there are a couple of changes that were made, and definitely this might need a bit of, might need a lot of review. And yeah, basically hoping.
Okay, so you have created modules and submodules to compact everything. Yeah.
What basically happened was I was taking all the Meshery API code and putting it under one directory. So yeah.
Okay, nice. Do we have any feedback here? Anyone? I mean, it's quite a long PR. Thanks, Chris. Are there merge conflicts right now? Because
yes,
every time a PR would be, anytime a new PR would be merged, there would be a merge conflict with, you'll experience a merge conflict here. So
I fixed all the merge conflicts. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ran all the tests and build like Meshery UI, provider UI, build Meshery server, and run a bunch of stuff? So have you done the end-to-end testing from your side?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that sounds nice. After the call, I'll check out your PR and do test from my end, and then I'll approve the PR if everything works fine.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, great. Do we have any other comments?
I'll just say that I'm impressed with Christopher. Like I wouldn't, it's not a small change, like and this might be Christopher's first PR, which is just like, makes it all the more impressive. It was something that I was scared to do because you got all the moving parts and you don't know what's referring to what. And I think last time that I checked out this PR and built it, I think I know it was successful. Like I was running Meshery and I didn't see issues. So I'm excited about this. This is great.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Chris. Okay, now we can move on to the next item. User-friendly API on capability registry.
Yeah, so so just to give a little bit of context, in Meshery we have what we call components. These components are basically okay. I'm trying to figure out at what level I should explain. So I'll explain it pretty high level. So we have these components. There are too much, so they won't be formatted properly. And these are basically a bunch of JSON schemas and definitions that we use. And so like we have Kubernetes components, and each service mesh has its own components. And these components are a way for the adapter, like we have Meshery adapters or Kubernetes, to let us deploy those things. Like if you want to deploy a pod through Meshery, we need a pod component which we extract from Kubernetes. If you want to deploy an Istio mesh, then you need to have an Istio. So these components can be found in each of the adapters directories and templates on workloads. And at the time of when the adapter starts, it registers its workloads with Meshery server. And in Meshmap Designer and in other parts of Meshery as well, we require these components. So right now we have like only two ways to do it. So there is this API on workload which throws everything that is inside of our registry, which is a lot of things, or you can filter by name. So there is service.kate, so you will get that. But again, that's not pretty user friendly. So the idea was to, let me open the PR as well. So I just created a thin abstraction over our current registry to expose some clean APIs. So just like Kubernetes uses group version kind, I have here used type version name, and here I shouldn't use type. I would say I was confused between registrant and type. So for now I have went with type. So the APIs look like this. So we have /API/components/ let's say. So if we want to know what are all the registrants or types available, right now I have Kubernetes Istio core. If I pick any one of them, let's say Istio, then it will return all the Istio components. Or let's say that I want to know what are the versions available for Istio. I can say /versions and it will return all the versions. Let's say I want to see what are all the components for latest version. I can say /component/istio/latest. It will return me this. If I want to say virtual service for the latest version, so basically the whole thing is pretty much very much readable and a much fine-grained experience than what we had before. So /API/component/types return that, and then yeah, you can filter on type, and then you can go all the way to version and all the way to name, and you can do it with like we have like our core components. So if you just pass like core or Istio or Kubernetes, it will return all of the components. So and if you you can pick a specific version, and you can use that. Let's say that I want to see Kubernetes 1.24.1 pod. So this would be the query. And so basically a lot of filtering that was happening at the front end, it's now you can do it on back end now. So does anyone have any doubts regarding this?
Yeah, the version seems potentially ill-placed, but something to let settle in maybe in terms of the endpoint structure. It might make sense to put components under something like models, just because components could mean Meshery components and the system itself. Yeah, things to think on.
So Lee, where do you reckon the version should be?
Well, potentially nowhere. Like, yeah. I mean, my suggestion is that you don't include it in the endpoints. That if you want to filter on that, great. Otherwise, you just by default return the components for the latest version. It might require a little more thought. It doesn't feel right to me. I mean, that doesn't mean we don't do it. I'm just saying. It would be potentially a parameter, potentially something in the. It's a sub thing. It's like, hey, what am I interested in? Kubernetes deployments, but only those components for this. Maybe for multiple versions or only this version.
But it's pretty standard practice. Like in Kubernetes, you have the core.something/v1 alpha1 /v1 beta1. That their version is just our version. It's not like alpha1 beta1. It's just 1.2 or it's a version kind of version. So it looks a bit.
It's a version. It's a version of their API, which we don't have a version of our API. So it's actually could be confused between the two.
Okay.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah. As a user, I would assume that would be the version of the Meshery API, since there isn't another version listed. I don't know. It's something to think through. It's something to give a little more thought to.
That's why I put version after the name of the registrant. So Kubernetes /version would mean that this version is Kubernetes version. Core /version would mean that our version.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be moving this conversation in some like on stack and for later. So now we can move on to the next item, which is updates on the card view of applications and design. Gaurav, if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Yeah, so recently I've created a PR about configurations, UI enhancement. So configuration involves application design and filter. So this PR adds a source type icon and a functionality in card view also, and fix all of the UI and UX bugs with code restructuring for all the configuration components. So let me demo this. So previously we were just having the source type column in the tables. We were not having any kind of UI show of source type. So we have this functionality. So if we click to this component icon, so it will just download the token with the source content. And yeah, I've also added a tooltip over here. So user would be like notified that this action can be performed on clicking on this particular icon. And rest of the things involves bug fix with empty state and code changes and with color enhancement of all this undeploy and icon stuff. Yep, that was a quick update. So
hey, you were saying something?
Yeah, like I was saying, like we have, I think, UXers on the call. So if anyone has any suggestion, more great ideas, how we can show more items or on the card, they are welcome to do and jump in Figma.
Yeah, call for UX designer, sorry, UI designer, or both. Yeah.
Yeah. So any feedback or suggestion?
Yeah, Uzair had a good question on, I don't know if it was applications or it might have been on designs. So just a related consideration, especially around UX. So for users of Meshery that are looking at designs, they'll see a very similar looking list of cards in either a grid format or a table format. They can perform certain actions on the designs. So in the grid format, you can deploy, undeploy, or edit, which are the same three actions in the table column. Here you can create a design, import a design, and those are top level buttons that you can do whether you're in the grid view or table view. Shortly, Root Raj and 4 other people, Aditya and Uzair and I can't remember, are adding a new capability to the designs section and to the filters section, and that is to fork or clone a design. And so you can imagine there being a 4th action in the table column, and that would, most of the time probably fit inside of someone's window, their screen. If you're in the grid view though, and you go to add a 4th action, well, it gets a little tight. And so there's a great open question about, where to, or how to update the design, this grid design to account for a 4th action. So,
Yeah,
food for thought.
so
If you're
in my
if you're
opinion,
we don't necessarily have to figure it out now. I just wanted to raise it up as feedback. But yeah, if you want to go ahead, Avi, and then I would move on.
Yeah, so in my opinion, since we had the source type as well as download content available on the right side of the header of each card, so we can have that fork item. Since we are doing something similar, like fork is also kind of sharing the design to someone else, just like downloading it and then sharing it. So yeah, that could be done.
Oh, Avi, yeah, I missed that. You actually weren't trying to answer that particular question. You were calling out potential meaning behind fork and the behavior of the action.
Yeah, so yeah, something similar, not exactly.
Oh, okay. Can you say
We
it
can
again?
discuss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, should I say it or time to go?
Either way, were you looking for anyone to provide feedback just then, or are you just making it?
Yeah, so anyone here, please do provide a feedback if you have.
Yeah. So in designs, we'll be having visibility and fork both in cards view as well, right? Visibility should also be there.
Yeah, maybe start with Figma designs. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have shared a design for these patterns in chat. So anyone is welcome to jump and provide suggestions. Yep.
Yeah.
Back to you, Avi. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So okay, nice. Let's move on to the next item. Updates on Meshery catalog capability.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as we already mentioned, the goal of this feature is to be able to clone a. So there is still a discussion on the word that we want to use, but basically clone the patterns and filters to your own account. Let's say if you have Meshery Cloud. Then clicking on fork word on someone else's pattern would make a copy on your account. So it'll create a personal copy. So this is just a demo. The UI part has been worked on by Uzair and Aditya. So I just botched together some UI just to show the functionality. So let's say this is a pattern which is I own this, but this is a private pattern, so I can make edits to it if I want. And I can save it and it saves just fine. And this is not my, I don't own this pattern. So I've also added authorization check. So if I change this, it will not let me edit the pattern. And also for now, I've just replaced the delete functionality with fork. And it's right now, it's such that you can only fork public patterns. So this one's a private pattern. So yeah, this one's a private pattern, so I won't be able to fork it. If I click fork, it will say you're unauthorized to fork. And since this is a public pattern, I can fork it. If I just click this, it will create a new copy. And this is now my pattern, so I can make changes onto this, and it'll go through just fine. So so what we want to do with this feature is to integrate it with Meshery Cloud, where we can have public patterns which are part of Meshery Cloud, and if a user wants to edit that pattern, they can first clone it and then they can make edits to it. So yeah, I think was
Right
there.
now,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, I said right now to create the fork, you clicked on design, right? Or I'm
I just clicked
any.
on the delete button. I just botched and changed the functionality of the delete button.
Oh, okay. I was confused. How did it got fork if there is no fork button?
Yeah. So yeah, UI has been worked on by Aditya and Uzair, and Uzair has also helped add the add it as a capability on Meshery server side. I've added it as a capability on the Meshery cloud side, so it works as a capability now.
One more thing, that the snack bar error, that 401 error, I mean, it makes complete sense, but those errors are mostly like, something went wrong, and this is a completely expected behavior if you're trying to edit basically a public thing. So on the UI side, if someone tries to edit this thing, and you get this 401 error, basically if you get unauthorized error, or instead of saying just showing the snack bar, there can be a better error that describes that thing, that this is public and this is private, for people who are just playing around with it, and they get this 401, and instead of thinking that okay, so there is this private and public, we show them some actual information, that some kind of an info, like something like disclaimer or info type thing, a pop-up which says actually you can't do these things, look for these label which say public, private, and those are yours, and this is how to fork it, some small text there, because we know how to do all these things. New user might not.
Yeah, so I think a better idea would just to not have a fork button or a save button in case where it's just not authorized on UI side.
But
How does that sound?
yeah, that sounds good. But on the front end, do we know beforehand that this pattern is
Yes.
okay? Then good.
Yeah, I think if Uzair has anything to share or Aditya has anything to share.
Yes, so only thing for the UI was remaining is adding catalog feature in cards view. So today I added that as well, and most of the part for the UI is done. Only if the Ruturaj PR is if Ruturaj PR is merged, then we can perform the final check and merge these UI changes as well, and then it will be completed. And there is only one question for me, from me, like as we are not allowing public designs to be updated, is there a check added to not delete the uh, public catalog as well? Did you added that in cloud or not? I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think I missed the delete part, did I? I'll add this right now. Wait, okay. I'll check and then add it right.
Yes, okay. So so when the both the PRs are merged, then we will perform the final check in the UI and it will be completed.
Yeah, great. So let's move on to Yash, Meshery restructuring branch updates, open PRs and trackers.
Yeah, let me share my screen. So a lot of work has been done on the restructuring part. Most of them are merged or open PRs or are in progress right now. One of the main thing which needs some focus is the backend part. Mostly the GraphQL get queries because we don't have queries for a pattern. I think filters and applications as of now. So and we also have to update the whole restructuring branch and backend. I tried copy pasting the whole backend, and I think it worked, but there was many build issues, so I would need a little help with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
do you have the photo? I mean the restructuring branch live.
yeah. I have it running that. So so for patterns and performance, I made the queries and it's fetching data from the GraphQL.
So I
Uh,
think
yeah.
we can only see the Excel sheet.
So
Are you showing
you
something
can,
else?
yeah. Wait. Yeah.
Can we-
Now you can see, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So I've added GraphQL queries for patterns and profiles. I've also added for applications, but it is not connected as the uh, we don't have a get query endpoint for it for GraphQL. So uh, we need to add it for applications and filters.
Okay. Okay, good so far. So, do we have any feedback here? Anyone?
Like we have subscriptions for patterns, application, and filters in mesh map, so we can move that here as well in Meshery PR, right? We don't need to add new GraphQL query.
Yeah. So, for these pages, like, are you using GraphQL subscription or you are using REST API endpoints?
I'm using GraphQL.
Okay, good, good. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I'm using GraphQL query to get to fetch the patterns.
Mhm.
And I think updates from others. I think Leonard is not present. He has made the performance page, the dashboard. He hasn't made a PR as of now. He just shared me a screenshot. So, and updates from Hakirat and Shubhradeep, I guess. I will let them share their screen.
Okay. By the way, this one, the thing we just talked about, the open PR and tracker and all. So these are like very open to newcomers and everyone who wants to try out Meshery and want to contribute to Meshery UI. So very soon we are moving to the restructuring branch as our main branch, and we will be using that since we are on MUI v5 on those branches. So yeah, so if you are like interested, so Yash is a great man to speak to. So yeah. Basically I'm calling out for volunteers if you are interested in UI and React and Meshy and want to contribute there. So I think good, nice. We can move on to the next item. Creation of reusable cards for UI restructuring. PR 6051. Arkir?
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. Just one minute. So I've created this reusable card for like this card has been used for like application pattern and filter. So I made this card reusable, and the another update from my side is like I was working on this like in a Docker extension like telling the user like which mesh adapters are not present. If sometimes ST or like linkd or it's not working, we don't tell the user about which mesh adapters are not present currently. So I was working on this PR. Actually, Lee pointed me like firstly we can use something the REST API endpoint for that, but like that kind of was slow. But I used something with Docker. The Docker provided the SDK tool like what I did like here, I just list a container and filter it out and all that stuff. Now, so where is that? So Now it's like working so quick, like we don't need any like switcher or anything between it. So only thing that I'm facing difficulty is like if the user hasn't like enabled this, so it won't work. That only thing that I'm facing difficulty now. Ashish, Nitish, Abhishek, any thoughts or feedback?
Akarata, I missed just like you're going to use the
Okay.
REST API to determine whether or not these are.
No, I'm not using the REST API. I'm using the second approach that you provided me. Like you use something that is provided by Docker, Docker desktop, like Docker
Yep.
SD or what you said, like main Slack.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So now it's like working so quick. Like I want to make the user experience like much more great. So only difficulty I was facing, like the user should have to be enabled this option, or this won't work. The Docker commands won't work.
Okay, that's not a good solution then. That won't work.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're using the, yeah.
Probably calling out on the Docker extensions engineering too. So it may be a bug from their side too, or if not, yeah, we can change the solution. Okay, spec for Meshery app import command.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay, is my screen visible now?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, in the last couple of days, I went through this spec for the Meshery CTL app import command. And I'll be starting on the implementation of this. So before actually implementing, I want to discuss how the command will look like what will be the flags and what will they do, and yeah. So there is a command called Meshery CTL app onboard. So what it does is basically when you provide a application YAML to it, so it imports the application and also deploys it. So this app import command will only be a subpart, will kind of be a subpart of the onboard command, and we use to only import the application. It will not be deploying the application. So here is how like it will look like. So we have thought of mainly three flags. So first one is file. In the file command, you can put the path to your file, or you can also put a URL to a GitHub URL, like similar to the app onboard command. And then there is a name flag in which you can specify the name of the application. Like in the app onboard command, it's by default set to the file name, but in this command, like you'll be able to modify the name. And there's a source type, so you can specify any source type that is supported, like Kubernetes manifest or Docker Composer or Helm chart, and yeah, and it will be used to import the application to Meshery. And also along with that, I want to discuss that we'll be making some changes to app onboard command also as a part of this, mainly to make it more consistent with this import command, so that they have similar set of flags. So mainly I suggested three changes. So the first one is that we should add the name command to onboard as well. Like currently, like there is no way to change the name of the application in the onboard command. So we can add the name flag to that command as well, because I think it should be similar. Like if it's supported in import, and we should be also supporting an onboard command. And then the message, and we can use MesheryCTL app onboard with the application name to deploy an already imported application. So it's this functionality is already present, so nothing needs to be changed. But we can improve one thing here, that so let's say if a user types in MesheryCTL app onboard with app name, and also provides a file uh, with F flag, so it ignores that F flag and just deploys the application with the app name. So we can throw an error there, saying that like it's ambiguous. We don't exactly know what user is trying to do. Yeah, so that was all.
Yeah, good. Aditya, or Lee, or anyone else on the call, any feedback regarding the MesheryCTL? Okay, so Lee has a feedback about what we really need is a thing like this Meshery console git master. Okay, he's referring to some git command. So
yeah, well, or is to say like, hey, we just have some like horrific UX going on a lot of the commands, and Harkarat has an open PR, Alpha and Nishant and a few others have jumped in to try to help make sure that we have a decent response. We do it. We've been talking about it for a long time. Just go get, like, that just should never be the response. Error requires at least one args. I am a robot. Don't use me. I don't know what to do. Like, it's just terrible. And so there's any number of better answers. And then there's even better answers, which is probably we shouldn't give people a link. I know it was originally my idea to give people a link directly to the specific doc set for the documentation page in Meshery, docs.meshery.io. The thing is that was before we moved the source, the single source of truth for the docs right into the CLI itself. So other than a screenshot, there's nothing more that the user should get from the docs. So there's no reason to give them the link. It's just like you actually want it to be pretty concise in terms of what you show back. So that's one item of what Nishant was saying is like you use the word consistency or consistent a couple of times. That's exactly right. You can hardly go wrong with making it consistent. In fact, the commands are not consistent, which is causing kind of a big deal. Like if you're going to use something like MesheryCTL app onboard and give an app name, great. Just be prepared to lean heavily into MesheryCTL perf and how it is that it does search for a profile name, because you're going to have all the same challenges of what if you have two applications named the same thing, or you can't find one, or like there's a whole series of interactions that you would have with a user and how you display back multiple results and that kind of a thing, which is all great. And a lot of that is handled for inside of MesheryCTL perf. So copy that UX and be consistent.
Actually, that logic is already present in onboard. Like if there are duplicate app names, they the user is shown an option to select an application.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Good.
And also like about the links, I want to ask like instead of links, like you told that we don't need to send users to an online link basically because we are generating the documentation from the CLI itself. So can we, like, instead of giving the links, we can say the user to use a help command, so let's say there is an error in MesheryCTL system something. So like currently we are saying the user to go to docs.meshery.io/MesheryCTL/reference/system. So instead of that, we can say the user to just like for more information, like for more help, you can type in MesheryCTL system help, like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. The stuff that you said has merit. It'll probably take a little bit of a longer conversation because the first part was correct. The second part, I don't think so. There is a UX design, I don't know if it's a style guide that we've been trying to publish for Meshery CLI. And it's here. I think I pointed out a time or two. Let's refer to the style guide with respect to that particular question. And let's update the style guide if needed as we go to figure that out. Because that's a pervasive question. It's really helpful to get it figured out and kind of made uniform.
Okay. Yeah. So the next item in the list is components on Meshery doc and compatibility metrics and its deployment.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay. So as Ashish said earlier, the components are a bunch of JSON schema that helps adapters to help us to add some information on the adapters. So what currently I'm working on is to consolidate all this information about different components, as components have different versions. Like this Meshery Linkerd had different versions, and inside them we have different number of components. So what I'm working currently on is to consolidate all this into a single page in a Meshery docs. So to do that, currently I have implemented a workload action workflow that copies all these files present in all the adapter repository and transports them to the Meshery docs folder in Meshery repository. So yeah, currently, so this is a to display this table, I have kind of implemented this design, and I'm looking for suggestions on what else could we make better out of this, like if it can be made better. So I have implemented a similar design as of compatibility matrix, in which we show all these details, and if the user clicks on one of the rows, he's shown with all the different components of this particular version, the latest version. And if the user wants to see the integrations and components of all the other versions, he clicks this button and goes to another page. So yeah, I want any suggestions or feedbacks if there's something missing here. That would be great.
So yeah, so Divine and Alexis and others who are, well, anyone, but specifically those gentlemen or others who are user interface inclined, we have an information architecture challenge in which we've got, in a good way, we've got tons of information we need to display to the user, but we need to make it palatable and understandable. We need to summarize and allow them to drill in. For the most part, that's happening already. But Subedi, if you go to I might be jumping the gun. I guess I expected that you were talking about the compatibility matrix and the integration tests. Did you already talk about that?
After this.
Okay, that's great. So then hopefully Divine and Alexis will have their ears pricked and listen as you go through that.
All right, so I guess I'll keep on working on this and make a PR, then we can have further suggestions or considerations in that PR itself.
Where will the CL versions go?
Sorry, which version?
The hyperlink, the click to CL versions.
Oh, this will show all these. So currently in this first page, we only show the latest version of particular adapters. So once we click this, we'll see all these versions in one page. All these versions and their integrations in one page.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully there isn't a performance hit on the Jekyll site or something. Like not for users, but I mean in terms of building and stuff like that. That's really fantastic. it might be overkill, like maybe hold off on it until a couple of users start saying, hey, why aren't you, I can't see this for the older versions, or something. I gotta, because this is fairly impressive as it is. Like the documentation is gets pretty darn detailed per adapter, per area. I don't know. I mean, just before you put in that much effort, it might be good to get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so this thing, have you created this out of, I think the only PR that got merged was the Linkerd one. So the STL OSM data is,
yeah, it's statically, I just created for a design purpose on
okay.
Okay, so moving on to the another topic that I was talking about the compatibility matrix. So a brief overview of what compatibility matrix is that we run several E2E tests on different adapters when any changes emerge into these adapters, and all the test results are consolidated and reported back to the Meshery docs. Like if it's failure, we show it red. If it's green, we show it green. So all these tests are stored in one place in Meshery docs. So we can see all the past results also. So from all these integration tests, we have this compatibility matrix for different Kubernetes version. So currently the compatible matrix is kind of hidden, right? It's not shown directly to the user in the menu or what I'm trying to say is it's not currently shown to the user visibly. You either have to go to different level steps to see compatible matrix. So what we would like to have is that show these compatible matrix in a way such that user can access it easily. So kind of upliftment of compatibility matrix. So we are looking for any ideas or suggestions on how we can do that, how we can easily incorporate that thing into the Meshery doc so that users can easily be compatibility matrix. So any suggestions or any design ideas that how we can incorporate that thing, that will be really helpful. So since we have many UXers and UI in this call, so that would be really helpful if anyone has any suggestions about it.
Yeah, so Divine, does this make sense? Is this something you think you might want to work on?
Yeah, but I'm still a little bit confused. Where are they supposed to access the complexity matrix from exactly? You said from the Meshery doc, or
Your voice got cut in between. Like it's not clear.
sorry, can you go over how to access the complexity matrix again?
Oh,
Sorry,
okay. So
yeah.
so you wanted to know how we can access compatibility matrix right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you want to see compatibility matrix, we can do it with the URL doc.meshery.io, or you can go to supported platforms and then click on this compatibility matrix link. So we want to move away from that and show visually or show readily the compatibility matrix easily. I mean, possibly in this page itself, like this page is one of the option to show the compatibility matrix.
Oh, okay. All right. I think it's something I'll have to look at.
Sure, yeah. Ping me up in Slack or in public channel and we'll be happy to collaborate.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, okay. And one more thing I wanted to point out, like there are lots of reds in the integration test that is not looking good. So I guess that's a failing. I think we have to look into that also. This thing is a sorting issue that will be fixed PR is much, but others are showing red. Yeah, that's what I wanted to point it out.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so someone needs to look into the failing test, why they're failing on edge release. Okay, so I think we have pretty much covered all the topics today. Yeah, great meeting so far. Another announcement that we have to make is the LFX internships, and around 7 of them is open for you to apply. You all are like encouraged to apply to LFX internships and show work and fill the application form and all. So yeah, we are waiting for your application. That's what I want to say. And yeah, I think we are on the top of the hour. So thanks everyone for joining once again, and we can conclude it here. So Lee, do you want to say something?
Oh yeah. Oh, with respect to the internship, the LFX, like, yeah, hey, it's like eightfold over, I think, the most popular LFX internship. So yeah, go apply. There's like 7 of them out there. It's something that we do all the time. There's any number of individuals here that have been through either GSOC or GSOD or LFX or just a direct internship with Layer 5. Talk to them. Either read their blog posts. A lot of them have written blog posts, not all of them. If there was someone that had a poor experience, I would definitely point them out to you. There are a couple of people who have started internships and we just didn't position them for success, and so they struggled. Come see me. I'll give you their names. You can go ask them how it was.
Yeah. Great.
I'd like to interrupt, I think, a little bit. Actually, this LFX internship, I actually had filled the form a couple of months ago, but am I supposed to give the application or the form to any of the mentors as well on Slack or something, or I just need to fill the form on the site, the tasks which are given to me?
Yeah. You know what? The insights. Actually, I should go write something and go. The way to get an internship is to go talk to Subedi, the guy that just presented, or Abi or Ashish, or there's like 15 people on here who've been through internships or are in one now. They will tell you internships are earned, not awarded. Like, come and enjoy the project and get involved, learn a bunch of stuff. As a matter of fact, whether you get an internship or not, you'll take the same experience away. There's just like a lot to say on this subject, but like, if you want it, come get it. I'm not kidding at all. There's so much more to do than just an internship, by the way. Just go talk to the other folks. So anyway, I would love for everyone to be interning right now, or like, everybody to own a piece of the project, like make it yours. The internships are just to like support those people in owning those areas. We've got Mr. Meshery Cloud who just dropped a chat message, like Pranav is one of is like the main guy behind that component. There are other people who contribute and engage, but I'm pointing him out as an example of an individual that came and wouldn't stop asking questions, and he wouldn't stop like making good contributions. And it was just like, that's perfect. We just want to support that. And so, yeah, that's just about as concise as I can be, I think, on the, I never look at applications for my part. Not once. Could give 2 shits. It didn't tell me anything about what most of it is a lie anyway, which really pisses me off. I gotta tell you, like, that's one thing. Don't lie. Anyway, okay, good. So I'll just prattle on for like a long time.
Yeah. So yeah, the crux is like join the Slack, do some contribution, get involved, like the project. If you don't like that, it's fine. If you like, yeah, you're in for the internship and even more. So great. We'll carry the rest of the items in the next meeting. Till then, good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. I'll see you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, bye.